there are other things going on, guys, in the fight game. There are other things to talk about and other things I do want to touch on. And you guys know that you guys know my favorite weight class in the fight game in boxing is the featherweight division. You know, a lot of fighters in the featherweight division I'm interested in. And believe it or not, guys, one of my favorite featherweights in the world, one of my favorite featherweights in the world. I'd even go as far as to say it was one of my favorite fighters in boxing. You know, he hasn't fought a whole lot since March of 2024. A lot of these featherweights, they're not going to pick this guy voluntarily. So guess what? This guy had to go a different route. This guy had to go the Zuffa Boxing route. And I'm happy to report, and I'm happy to talk about, and I'm happy to speak on the fact that my main man, 50 grand, Bruce Lee, Uzbekistan's very own, Otabek Kholmatov. He signed with the fine folks, with Dana White in Zuffa Boxing, and really and truthfully, I feel like this is the best thing for Otabek Kholmatov. Now, look, Otabek Kholmatov was a guy that, you know, before he ever fought Raymond Ford, before he even went to the UK and won the eliminator fight, I remember seeing him when he was like 3-0 at Warriors Gym. I done seen him put damn near over 100 rounds of sparring in the gym. Man is a monster, right? And obviously he had that 2024 fight of the year with Raymond Ford. Ford beat him in the 12th round and came from behind. And I give Ford, I'll always give Ford his just due for that, because that's a fight that people don't want to take before then, and people don't want to take after. And he beat the guy, so I can't ever take that away from Ford. But I still think he's one of the best featherweights out there, irrespective of the loss and lack of activity. I know that's not on him. You know, I wanted to see Otabek. I wanted to see Bruce Carrington fight Otabek before like Bruce Carrington fought Carlos Castro. I wanted to really know how good Bruce Carrington was, and I wanted Top Rank to make that fight. But you know, Brad Goodman, Bruce Champlin, they're smart. They know these fights are dangerous, and they move shoe very, very carefully. And congratulations, they got him to the world title. Mission accomplished. But anyway, let's go to Otabek Kholmatov, because he hasn't really been seen or heard from much. And this is the news. So Dan Raphael reported on it yesterday on his Twitter and in his on ESPN.com. Says right here, it says 7 months after its ESPN contract expired on July 31st, and still with no media partner, struggling Top Rank is not nearly as aggressive as it typically has been when it comes to signing or keeping talent. Not only did the company lay off some employees in recent weeks, but it has also parted ways with 2 contenders. According to sources, former featherweight title challenger Otabek Kholmatov, 13-1 with 12 KOs, 27 years old, of Uzbekistan, was released and has, in fact, signed with Zuffa Boxing. And also Las Vegas junior lightweight Andres Cortez has had his contract recently expired with Top Rank, not offering an extension because it simply has no events to put him on. So, guys, this is what's happening with Top Rank Boxing right now. You know, they don't have dates, they don't have a network, they don't have a platform, so they're trimming a lot of the fat. They're either outsourcing fighters that are more of their priority to other promoters' cards, right? Or B, fighters that they don't have as a priority, they're just outright not offering them extensions and releasing them. And in this case of Otabek Kholmatov, who was a top contender, and Andres Cortez, who's an undefeated top contender, they've done that with them. Now, going back to Otabek Kholmatov, I spoke on this yesterday, right, on Twitter briefly, right? I had tweeted this yesterday on my personal account, and I'm getting a bit more active on there. You know, I had stated yesterday. And by the way, go follow me if you don't already at True School Sports. I'm on there quite a lot. He's like, listen, Otabek Kholmatov is still one of the best featherweights out there, and these guys are not going to voluntarily pick him, and he's got to stay active, right? And he's 27 years old. He's still right there at the peak of his powers. I would love to see. This is a guy that I think the fight game needs to see more of, because I'm going to tell you this, and this is just my opinion. Like, Raymond Ford beat him fair and square, but this is my opinion about that fight. I think Otabek Kholmatov made a very stupid move. I would even say it was a borderline retarded move to get rid of Timur Bragimov before that fight, because, you know, he went out there and trained with Joel Diaz, who trained a lot of the Uzbeks like Merjan and Beck Bully and them guys. And I feel like it took away from the Otabek Kholmatov that I've seen in the gym. Timur Bragimov really had him firing on all cylinders, and I think he put himself at a disadvantage going into that Ford fight. And you know, the man who was destined to win won that fight. But I still think he could show even better. And I think one of the steps that he could take to show better would be to fight on Zuffa Boxing frequently. I want to see Otabek Kholmatov fight, 3-4 times a year. That's what the fight game needs, because when this man's at his best, when he's dialed in, when he's locked in, this is a guy who is long, who's rangy, who punches hard with both hands, who's athletic. He's a nightmare. He's a dangerous fighter for anyone in the featherweight division. I would even include my boy Angelo Leo. And you guys know what I think he's the best featherweight in the world. In fact, I know he's the best featherweight in the world, but I would even say him, right? That's how good Otabek is, right? So this is a guy that not only do I think this is great for him signing with Zuffa Boxing, because I feel like Zuffa Boxing was created for guys like him. Because let's be real, guys, there was plenty of fights for Otabek Kholmatov Top Rank could have made over the years, like with Ruben Villa or Bruce Carrington, right? Venado Lopez. There's plenty of guys that Top Rank has had that they could have matched him with, and he couldn't get those fights because they don't want to fight this guy because he's dangerous and he don't speak English, and there's not a lot of money in fighting him. So under the current structure of boxing, he was never going to get the benefit of the doubt unless he was mandatory challenger. But under Zuffa Boxing, he will actually get a chance to, box often. And I'm telling you right now, Zuffa Boxing, Dana White, Skip, the staff there, the matchmakers, everyone there, I'm telling you right now, you get Otabek Kholmatov 3 or 4 fights on Zuffa Boxing, I don't give a fuck who is against. This guy is going to break out and become one of the stars of Zuffa Boxing. They've had a lot of success in the UFC promoting these, these Central Asian and Russian fighters. And I think they can do the same thing as Zuffa Boxing, because there's a lot of boxing fans, and there's probably a lot of people that don't even like boxing that much that will become boxing fans just because of Zuffa Boxing. And I'm telling you right now, this guy is going to be one of the stars of Zuffa Boxing, because I don't care if he lost to Ford. I give Ford his due, but in my eyes, in terms of skill, ability, talent, punching power, boxing skills, pedigree, all that, this is one of the top featherweights in the world. And the fact that you didn't see Top Rank put Bruce Carrington in there with him, or any of the other guys that didn't have belts, it actually shows you what he is, which is a very dangerous man. Because Arnold K. Guy is much like Kholmatov in the sense that, yeah, he don't speak English and there's not a lot of marketability, but Arnold K. Guy has never had a hard time fighting fights because Arnold K. Guy is not on that level. Arnold K. Guy is a very basic high guard fighter who don't really got no otherworldly skills. His best skill is taking an ass whooping. That's why Rafael Espinoza picked him for a fight. You understand? So sometimes you know how good a fighter is by what doesn't happen to their career rather than what does happen to career than what does happen to their career. And for me, Otabek Kholmatov, one of those guys, and I still maintain belief that he is one of the top featherweight contenders in the world. And a loss Raymond Ford in the 12th round where he blew his knee out doesn't change that for me.